I want to tell you about a powerful idea. The idea that it has been increasingly harder and harder to practice being bored, to practice doing nothing, to practice having emptiness in your life. As the world speeds up, as we spend more time on our phones, more time on the computer, and more time being stimulated from outside forces, it has become evident to me that it is becoming harder and harder to just get quiet and be with yourself. And one of the most important practices that I'm putting into my life in 2021 is intentionally setting up time to unplug and get away and have no stimulus. Right now, I'm in the mountains. I'm at a client's house. He has Airbnbs that he rents out, and I'm shooting this Airbnb for his listing. In the meantime, I'm just gonna be hanging out, doing a whole lot of nothing. I have been doing a whole lot of nothing. And I think the reason why this is so important is because when we always have stimulus, when we always have noise that is cluttering our ability to think and our ability to hear our own thoughts, we kind of can lose track of what's going on inside of our body. We can kind of lose that relationship with ourselves, right? And oftentimes these ideas or things that we feel motivated to do are not even ours, and we're running in a direction or running a pattern that may not even be ours because we just haven't had any time to have our own thoughts. When you are filling every empty moment with your screen, on your phone, flicking through social media or checking email or getting some type of alert, then there's no time to just sit and listen. If you have a meditation practice, that's an amazing opportunity to sit down and be quiet with yourself. But when was the last time you went for 24 hours without your phone? Just think about that one idea, because for me, the only time I really don't have a phone on me is if I'm camping or if I'm overseas and I don't have a SIM card, so there's no way for me to get on the internet. And I think that this is going to become increasingly harder and harder to do. And so it becomes even more important for us to carve out some time to unplug, to get away, to disconnect. I'm not perfect. We all do this. We all want to escape from feeling something sometimes. We numb out with social media, or we numb out with Netflix, or we numb out with other stimulus that can keep us busy so that we don't have to look at something that may be uncomfortable or may be hard to confront. And if we don't have that time to actually evaluate what's going on and be with whatever that thing might be, then that could create real problems in our life. So I believe that one of the most important things that you can do in 2021 is create a practice of separation, of disconnection, of unplugging. And I'm gonna walk you through some steps on how you can practically do that in your life, not only on a day-to-day basis, but on a monthly or quarterly or yearly basis, so that you can make sure you have that time for introspection, reflection, quiet, and peace, so that you can really be with yourself and cultivate and continue to cultivate a better relationship with yourself as the year goes on. Step one is going to be decide on a day where you are just going to have a screen-free day. So I like screen-free Sundays or screen-free Saturdays. Choose. If you can do it during the week, then more power to you. But just this little technology fast I found to be insanely beneficial for my mental health. And it gives me a lot of time. It feels like when you're not living inside of the virtual world, that time sort of slows down. I noticed this when I was living in Europe last year or 2 years ago, when the world was opened and you could travel and do things. But I was staying in Europe. I was in Austria. I remember that the days felt very long, and they felt very long because I was just present. I was just here in the now, and so I wasn't sucked into the virtual ecosystem that I spend most of my time on now. It's weird because it seems like when I'm home, time and the days just they kind of just fly by, and the day will pass very quickly. Whereas when I'm abroad, or when I'm unplugged from technology, I just seem to have way more time. Everything is just moving a lot slower. And I don't know if this is true. I would love for someone to let me know in the comments if this is true, if you have any evidence to support this. But I feel like what technology does to our brain in terms of how it stimulates different chemicals, brain chemicals, might impact our sense of time and our sense of feeling how quickly or how slowly time is moving. So number one is going to be set a day where you're going to have no screens, okay? Number two is going to be plan a quarterly retreat. Now, I do this with my housemates, and if you haven't seen my video about living in a millennial entrepreneur house, then I will link it up right here and in the description so you can go check it out. But every quarter, me and my housemates, we get away for a weekend. This coming weekend, we're actually going to Mexico, and we get an Airbnb and we get off technology and we just spend time together and we reflect on what's happened in the last quarter, and we review, what worked, what didn't work, and then we plan for the next quarter. Okay, what's the objective going to be this quarter, and what are the key results that are going to help us get to that objective? And then the rest of the time we spend bonding. Maybe there's some stuff that needs to be cleared, but really it's a time that we just get to cherish together and really build relationship and be in community with each other and enjoy an experience. So the next retreat after Mexico, I think we actually might come here. It's a beautiful Airbnb, and I'll show you around in a little bit. But I would put at the end of each quarter some time, as little as a weekend and as much as a week, if you can handle it, if you can make it work, take a full week off and just do a whole lot of nothing, do some reflection, do things analog style, like journaling, walking, and try to just minimize the inputs and just be. And as an achiever, someone who likes to perform, someone who likes to set goals and hit goals and all those things, I find it very challenging actually to just sit and not do anything. It's actually harder to not do anything than it is to do something. So that is step number 2. Step number 3 is going to be to create some boundaries and rules around your technology. So one rule that I put into practice at different times is I just put my phone on airplane mode until noon. And that seems to work really well. It puts me in a very proactive state. Again, it gives me that distorted sense of time, like I feel like I have way more. And then I get to focus on the most important projects in my business, and I can do proper deep work, which I don't know about you, but for me has become harder and harder to do with all the different platforms, all the different notifications, all the different communication channels, and then put a hard stop on when you're going to get off technology. I talked about this in the Marcus Aurelius evening routine video, which I will link up here or in the description, where he had a practice of disconnecting once it went into the evening. So for me, I chose to make my time 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock, getting off technology. And what I found is that, again, that slowness of time, but it was also just so relaxing to not have any stimulation, up until the point that I go to bed, that it was so easy to fall asleep because I just had, the most enjoyable, sort of easy analog evening. And I was just really present with myself. I could do meditation, I could journal, I could hang out with my roommates, I could, I could go for a walk. I think it's one of the biggest gifts that you can give yourself is just to give yourself those boundaries and see what type of rules you can set up for yourself. Step number 4 is a bonus. If you're a business owner, entrepreneur, this can be very helpful, is to hire an assistant or a social media manager, build some systems on the daily or the weekly activity that you're going to be using. You can do this with your email as well, or your messenger communication. And that way you are not spreading yourself too thin energetically across all these different platforms, and you can focus on the actual work, which is the content creation or the product delivery or the customer results or whatever it is. I'll make a whole nother video about that, which whenever it goes live, we'll link it up in the description, about how to build systems and how to leverage yourself in a way that is effective and allows you to focus on what's important to you and what matters most to you, and protects your energy so that you're not leaking all over the place, all right? So those are 4 rules that you can start using to work on, practicing being bored, or practicing having time for yourself, practicing disconnecting and unplugging. And the interesting thing about this is what you'll notice when you start to unplug, you will notice that the volume of noise is just going to turn down, like, ooh, and the anxiety that's been like a refrigerator hum in the background is just going to come down, and you're just going to see your body start to relax more and more and more, and your mind start to be at more ease. And maybe if you need to, you'll be able to acknowledge something that's going on within yourself or something that's going on in your life or in a relationship, and you can be with it and you can deal with it appropriately in a healthy way, from a proactive place, not from a place of stimulation or in reactivity. And thus you can make greater gains in your health, in your relationships, and in your life and business. We have slowly trained ourselves to need constant stimulation, to constantly be doing, to constantly be moving forward. And we can retrain ourselves. We can retrain ourselves not to need those things, because it's like a slot machine, right? Or a little hit of cocaine, like one more dopamine hit, one more dopamine hit. It's like this cycle that never ends. If we can just create some space, you know, and it's not that social media is bad. I think social media is an incredible thing, but there needs to be a healthy relationship, and there needs to be that quiet time in order for us to really have the best thoughts, in order for us to be the most creative, and in order for us to actually do the things that we want to do. Because oftentimes we say, I'll do that when I have enough time, or I'll do that when, right? But what if that time is already available for you? It's just being robbed. It's being stolen from you through these little, you know, death by 1,000 paper cuts. So if we remove all of that, it opens up all this space, it opens up all this time, then you can finally do that thing that you always wanted to do. You can learn that language, you can go ask that girl out, you can build that side business. Whatever lights you up, whatever you're feeling called to do and inspired to do is available through freeing up some of this time. Find a place to get away and to do nothing, just for the sake of doing nothing. Because like many things, it seems that it is like a muscle. And if we do not work this muscle, if we do not flex this muscle of being okay without stimulation, then we will lose it. That's the whole reason why this Airbnb exists. You see, my friend Harvey, who owns this place, had a lot of challenges with his health, had a lot of challenges with stress. And he eventually got into real estate. He was buying houses, flipping them. And then all of a sudden he had all these properties in the mountains. And it was the perfect opportunity for him. Anytime that stress got high and he started having weird health stuff, he'd come up to the mountains and he'd just do a whole lot of nothing. And it would just bring the stress down, you know? And sometimes that is just what we need. Sometimes we need that escape. Sometimes we need to just get away. We need to change the scenery. We need to get rid of the stimulus. We just need to practice being bored. We just need to practice doing a whole lot of nothing. And there's nothing wrong with that. We aren't human doings, we're human beings. And sometimes we just gotta be and hang out, right? So if you wanna escape to the mountains in Southern California and get away for a weekend, then I'll put a link to Harvey's Airbnb and you can support him. So if you like this video, you're really gonna like this one or this one. And if you made it to this far in the video, definitely subscribe and hit that like button. It really does help with the YouTube algorithm. I will see you in the next video. Can't wait. Be well.